Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. Who is Abdul Gervonta Davis Tank Wahid fighting? Listen, these guys on Twitter are the worst. I see people putting all kind of stuff out there, man, and you know what? That's why if I share it with you, I tell you, take it with a grain of salt. Now, we know that Tank is returning. He's actually supposed to be popping the cherry on that PBC and Amazon broadcasting deal. Still haven't heard much about that March fight date. Nothing at all. It's like no activity. It's ridiculous how they're slow leaking the information. But nonetheless, that is something else I'll say take with a grain of salt because it's nothing but a rumor, right? We haven't heard anything definitive. So everything around Tank Davis, to me, has just been taken to the stupid. But let's try to make some sense of what we do have. Gervonta Davis recently changed his name to Abdul Wahid. Now, talk about taking it to the stupid. Not changing his name, not finding Islam. The fact that some dumbasses on Twitter refer to Tank as His Excellency. I mean, goddamn. Y'all just learn about Turkey al-Sheikh in Saudi Arabia. Everybody calling Turkey al-Sheikh His Excellency for a reason. Because of his position out there in the Royal Kingdom. They're not calling him His Excellency because he's Muslim. Dumbass. So now they out here talking to Abdul Wahid, His Excellency, His Excellency Tank Davis. Someone woke up in the morning and had not even a bowl of dumbass. They dug a trough in their backyard, filled it with dumbass, and dove in head first. Feet hanging out. Ridiculous. His Excellency. Hold your horses. Stop taking it to the stupid. Now back to business. We know Gervonta Davis was talking initially about having a rematch with Pitbull Cruz. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what happened there. Why those talks seem to have fizzled out. Or if that's still going to be the fight. We know recently we saw Pitbull Cruz. He bobbled his big garbanzo head up and was begging somebody for, who was he begging? Ryan Garcia for a fight? I just know he was begging for a fight. And I'm like, God damn. What happened to Pitbull Cruz? He was out here destroying people. But we know a lot of fighters went inactive when all that crap went left with PBC. So now he must be out there, man, in Mexico and feeling a little bit of pressure. But nonetheless, I do think this year, especially if he gets back in the ring, I think he's going to make some noise. But I should save this for another video, but I'd like to see a lot of these top fighters get the help from under PBC. I'm going to be honest with you. I just think they can get more activity elsewhere. But that's a whole nother conversation. But nonetheless, Tank fighting Pitbull Cruz it never made sense to me. He beat him pretty convincingly in the first fight with one hand. And just looking at how Pitbull Cruz has performed in his last couple fights, Pitbull Cruz is the truth. But his style is his downfall against a guy like Tank, who, at least last time we seen Tank fight, still was very agile, quick reflexes. IQ is there, punching power is there, the skill set's there. Tank can do everything, fight on the inside, fight on the outside. He uses his eyes very well to see everything that's going on. So I just think stylistically, Tank would get in there and just, make the fight. I think it'll be boring to a lot of people until Tank turned it up and knocked him out. Now, the next thing, what was posted yesterday was that Tank and Subriel and Matias are fighting like on March 30th. That's why when I shared it in a YouTube short, I said, take that with a grain of salt. Because I thought Subriel and Matias were still trying to get healthy. I remember Teofimo Lopez was trying to make a fight with him, and everybody was basically saying that was Teo's way of putting duck sauce on the fried rice, was to try to, push for a fight with someone who he knew wouldn't be ready. So he was basically putting duck sauce on the fried rice, but making everybody feel that he really wanted to fight when he didn't. So when I heard that Tank was fighting Subriel and Matias, I said, okay, this shit ain't coming out from Dan Raphael. It's not coming out from Matias. It ain't coming out from Leonard Ellaby. It's not coming out from a reliable source. But I've seen several people talking about it. But then it could be because one jackass threw shit to the wind out there on Twitter and people ran with it. So that's why I said take it with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, Tank fighting Subriel and Matias, I think it would be a smart move if it's true. Because Tank goes right up. He gets a shot right there at a title. And next thing you know, Tank can be floating around at 140, looking to go after, what's his name? Devin Haney. He could be going after Rolly if whoever Rolly fights next. He could, go after someone else, man. He could go after Tiafimo. But I tell you what, Tank versus Subriel Matias is a good fight, stylistically, everything. Matias is tough, and he's a guy who just picks up the pace round after round, man. And they say he hits very hard. His punch output is where it needs to be. They say his IQ is underestimated. His defense is underestimated. Because when I watch him, it looks like he's just coming straight forward, looking for the mashup crasher, Pitbull Cruz style of fighter. But from what I'm gathering from those who've been in the ring with him and their coaches, they're like, this guy is a problem. And people who've sparred him, they said there's so many layers to him. You don't really understand unless you're in the ring with him. And I tend to take their word. But what I will say, Tank versus Subriel Matias, I said that's an interesting fight because Subriel Matias is the boogeyman of the division. Some people are saying that if Tank was to fight him, that would be a banana peel. And he would slip, take a loss, and then Tank would no longer be this phenomenon that he's become in boxing. But to that I say, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. I don't think that really is the fight that's going to happen. Then you got El Rayo, Jose Valenzuela. He just came out here and damn near killed Chris Colbert. I think he put a fork in Chris Colbert's career. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, we can't forget that old A. Rayo, when he got in there against somebody who was real competition in his weight class, El Rayo, he got De Los Santos. And he wasn't looking good at all. So that tells me that El Rayo don't really have a chin. And Tank Davis, we know, has the power to touch him. But I'm going to say this about if it's true that Tank is fighting El Rayo. It kind of makes sense because El Rayo, I believe, is over on PBC. It kind of makes sense because El Rayo just beat Colbert. Colbert was, they were trying to line up a Colbert-Gervonta fight. El Rayo is kind of hot right now. And matter of fact, I think he's mandatory to Tank. Let me pull something up here while I'm sitting here running my big mouth. I think El Rayo is right on Tank's bumper. I'm pulling something up while I'm sitting here talking. But if that's the case, that fight can make sense. But does he beat Tank Davis? I'll say this. I think Tank should win, but I'm gonna tell you, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid, because you see, this thing about what's his name, Angel Heredia. That right there makes things very interesting, because El Rayo did look like a different animal against Chris Colbert in the second fight. He looked very different. That's all I'm gonna say. As far as him getting there and beating Tank, what I'll tell you is El Rayo has power and he has long arms. He could touch Tank, but I don't think he beats Tank Davis. I just don't think so. But I think the fight is interesting, knowing that he has a pharmaceutical genius on his team now. And people need to pay attention to that. That shit matters, man. Tank coming off of being inactive, going in with El Rayo, who's been active. El Rayo now has Angel Mimo Heredia on his team. He seemed to have made some changes, and all of a sudden he looked good against Chris Colbert. Does that carry over against a fight with Tank Davis? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Okay, so look, let me show you. Hold on a second. This one, hold on a second. Here we go. So when you look right here, so Valenzuela he's number 6. So this is as of 1 Jan, Schofield, De Los Santos, Frank Martin. So I don't know. I mean, they could, as far as Tank returning, it looked like it would be Pitbull Cruz, Cepeda, Frank Martin, but you just don't know. You just don't know when it comes to this. Maybe it is Valenzuela, but nonetheless, I think Tank should get him. I think Tank should get all these guys. Now, as far as the rumors about Manny Pacquiao. Well, Manny Pacquiao, man, he's been out here begging for a fight for quite some time. I don't even know what to think about old Manny Pacquiao anymore. Part of me kind of feels sorry for old Pacquiao he got hit with that lawsuit. He got to pay back some big money. And he seems to be trying to figure out a way to get a couple big fights to just use that money to pay back, to pay off that lawsuit. But nonetheless, Manny Pacquiao fighting Tank Davis. You know, this may be the perfect time for Manny Pacquiao to get in there with him. Tank's coming off of being inactive, struggles with that judge out there that really didn't want to work with him and allow him to stay sharp. You just never know what happens when a guy like Pacquiao gets in the ring. But at the same time, Pacquiao's not, 24 years old no more, 30 years old no more. He's not even 35. He's not even 40. Pacquiao's over 40 years, 44 years. He's over 40 years old. I think he's like 44 now. So to put him in there with a guy like Gervonta Davis who's in his prime, I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer. But what I will tell you is it makes big money for Gervonta and Pacquiao. So to me, if Gervonta just wants to take some money, hey, go fight Pacquiao. But being more realistic about who Gervonta could fight next out of these four names that are being thrown around, I think El Rayo is probably the direction it may go. Subriel Matias, that fight makes a lot of sense. I just don't think even Subriel would risk getting in a fight handicapped because he's not fully healed, just because he's fighting Tank. It's not like Tank has a title, but don't get me wrong, Tank has a name and he brings money. But I just don't think that fight kind of makes sense if Tank is looking to pick up a little hardware, then bang out with the guys at 140. But again, I just think that fight would be forced because Subriel, I just don't think he'll be ready for that. And the training, he may not have enough time for the training camp. Jose Valenzuela, everything about that looks right. Every single thing about that fight looks right for Tank Davis. Pitbull Cruz, nothing looks right about that fight for Tank Davis. And Manny Pacquiao, Tank gets no credit for that. He gets some money. But realistically, to me, I would say if Tank was coming back, I would think he would either go the Matias route or the El Rayo route. That's what I think. That's what Tank would need to give him a buzz, to get fans behind him, and to probably motivate him in camp. Because I don't care what you say, when you see a guy like El Rayo knock out Chris Colbert the way he did, that tells you as a fighter, I gotta be aware at all times, because obviously this guy is doing something right. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. When we take a look at things like this right here, this is where we get a good idea at Tank Davis. Remember, you got all these names. You got all these names at 135, right? But that doesn't mean Tank can just fight anybody here. Tank just happens to have a little strap over here for the WBA. And hold on a second. So when you look at him in the WBA, man, you got to look at that column to see really what's there for Tank Davis to fight. Cruz, Cepeda, Frank Martin, De Los Santos, Schofield, Valenzuela. Anyone out of this top 10. And Valenzuela is the guy who has the most buzz right now. Martin's been inactive. De Los Santos just lost. Schofield, I don't think he's ready for Tank. I don't think they'll throw him in there. Valenzuela, to me, is the optimal choice. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, 7 continents. About to go look at some of my kids play flag football. I'm in the breeze.